Hey, what's up guys? It's Renaldo here. So this video is going to be a little bit different in the sense that it's not going to focus on a specific topic that is newsworthy right now and you need to get my take on it. This is rather going to focus on something that has been coming for the last few months because I've had a lot of interactions with people, both positive and negative, with regards to this topic, and I wanted to unpack it right here, right now. Now, it's no secret that the future of politics in South Africa is going to be coalition politics. Now, I know a lot of people have got terrible experiences. If you live in major metros, then you probably know that coalition politics isn't that great. But there is a asterisk besides that I would like to address. And that is that the reason that coalition politics isn't working in South Africa right now for most major metros or towns or districts is because there are these small, insignificant, one issue or regional parties that just either side with the ANC or they side with the DA or the Freedom Front Plus, and their seats are up for grabs where you can purchase it by offering them a position in the mayoral committee or giving them the speaker position, deputy mayor, or the mayor position. So it's not a great example of coalition politics because this is not really how it works around the world. If you look at the Netherlands or in other UK countries, how their politics work, if a political party gets 20 to 25%, then most of the time they are the biggest party. And that means that people from different ideologies and different backgrounds have to come to the table to negotiate what is best for the country. Now, we live in a country that is arguably one of the most diverse countries in the world. So it's not really realistic to find one political party that can represent every single South African. Because you have South Africans that are communist, you've got South Africans that are liberal, you've got South Africans that are conservative, etc., etc. And if your political party can represent all of these individuals, then your political party doesn't stand for anything. Or your political party stands for everything, which means it'll fall for everything. Because you cannot keep a communist, socialist, liberal, and a conservative happy with one policy that you implement. It just can't work. So if there is any political party out there that believes that they can govern South Africa outright and they can fix this country and keep everybody happy, then they're lying to you. And we also have a history in this country that demonstrate that when a singular party has an outright majority, things never end well. Look at the National Party and what that gave us. It gave us apartheid. It gave us race-based legislation, discrimination. And then for the last 32 years, since we became a democracy, we've got the ANC. And the ANC has given us maladministration, corruption, economic decline, broad-based black economic empowerment, employment equity, affirmative action, catered deployment. The list is endless. And these are what just the two biggest parties has given us when they were an outright majority. Now, granted, since 2024, we have a GNU, but unfortunately, the GNU in essence is just the ANC is still in control of everything, but some other political parties have got a ministry here or there to show that they can do something. But by and large, the ANC still governs this country because, our international relations are governed by the ANC. So ultimately, even though this is a GNU, and even though this is the start of coalition politics, it's not the best example of it. And the reason that I say that coalition politics is the future of South Africa is because more and more people are realizing that this rainbow nation notion was an absolute bullshit and blatant lie. Now, that's not to say that South Africa can't coexist and that the South Africans can't work hand in hand and sing kumbaya and go and be the best versions of themselves. Of course not. But the perception that was created in 1994 is that a communist, a socialist, a liberal, a conservative, and everybody will just work on a policy framework and everybody will be happy. It just can't work. It can never ever work. Because a liberal is different to a conservative, is different to a communist, is different to a socialist. So ultimately, we do need different political parties that represent these ideological differences. Now, the one thing that I will say that really annoys the living shit out of me is when there are people that say, don't waste your vote on a smaller party, don't split your vote, or do everything you can to vote for the strongest party that can get the ANC out. Which is kind of ironic considering that there are many political parties that's actually keeping the ANC in power. But they want to campaign that they'll get rid of the ANC on a municipal level when they are in a coalition with the ANC on a national level. It just doesn't make sense. Also, the ANC is its own worst enemy. The ANC is going to do worse in this election, the 2026 elections, than what they did in the 2024 elections. And remember, they got 40% on the dot. So they're not going to do any better. So if a political party comes out and tells you, oh, we need to do everything to keep the ANC out, well, the ANC is not going to get 50% in any metro in South Africa. And I dare say that the DA faces the same risk that in the Western Cape, they don't look like they're going to get above 50% in any metro. And that is important because it means that our democracy is maturing. It means that people are now starting to become unashamedly who and what they are. Meaning, if they are conservative, they're not hiding the fact that they're conservative anymore. They're proudly conservative because ultimately their values and principles are important to them. And that is something that we've also moved away from. For the longest period of time, we have accepted that we can't really vote on our values and principles because there's just not enough support. So we have to support the political party that has got some of our values and principles, but it's got the best chance to unseat the ANC. Well, those days are long gone. The ANC is never ever going to see a majority in this country anymore. So we are slowly moving towards growing as a democracy, and we are slowly moving towards voting for what you believe in again. And the 2026 election is going to clearly indicate that people are moving back to voting for what they actually believe in and what their values and principles are. And that is why you are seeing such a big momentum towards the Freedom Front Plus. And the reason I say that is because 85% of this country are Christian, meaning 85% of this country are conservative. Because if you are religious, you are conservative. It's the way it works. So 85% of this country is conservative, black, white, colored, Indian, Asian, and ultimately people want their values and principles implemented in their everyday lives. And unfortunately, communism and socialism over the last 32 years have shown us that that's not the answer. You've also got nationalism, which the NP showed us is clearly not the answer. And to an extent, if you look at what's happening around the world, in the UK, for example, in Australia, in Canada, and under Biden's administration, liberalism is also not the answer because liberalism gives us men and women's bathrooms, women in men's bathrooms, men and women's sports, children that can decide what gender they want to be, the LGBTQI plus community that can lecture to you as a straight white male Christian that you are the problem and you are the bigot and you are the racist and you are the homophobe, transphobe, etc. just because you have your own beliefs. Now, ultimately, I'm very happy that coalitions are the future in this country. Because if you have a situation ultimately where 25% is liberal, 25% is communist, 15% is conservative, and 15% is socialist, then ultimately what you are going to get is people around a table that is going to say, okay, well, we agree to this, but we don't agree to that. And then eventually you are going to find each other to some extent, and that will benefit everybody because ultimately everybody is being represented at that table. Whereas right now, that is not the case. If you look at the state of South Africa from 1994 up until 2024, the ANC put black people first and foremost, and colored people, Indian people, and white people were an afterthought. And then if you want to put that in ideological manner, then, communists and socialists were looked after. Liberals, conservatives were forgotten. And we are reaching that point where everybody is actually going to be represented. So you as a conservative that believe that your faith and your family and your language is important to you, you will now have representatives that will fight for you on a municipal level and in 2029 on a national level to defend your interests. Now, that doesn't mean that the Rainbow Nation idea dies. It actually improves it, because we need to celebrate the fact that we are diverse. And we can't celebrate this diversity when we have a singular political party with the ideology that is guiding us as to what we should be and what we should act like and implementing the laws. Because like I said earlier in this video, a conservative feels very different than a liberal, just as a communist feels very different to a conservative. And in order to try and represent everybody, you're going to need different political parties around the table to make concessions and say, well, I accept this, I don't accept that. And then ultimately you end up with a system where everybody is represented. And at the moment, that's just not the case. I would argue that, strangely enough, with this country being an 85% conservative country, conservatives are actually the least looked after ideologically in this country. And if you had to play open cards with everybody and say, what do you actually believe in? What do you actually want for this country? I think the vast majority of people in this country want the same things. Their ideology just forces them to look at it differently and how to get there. An example of this is triple BEE. Now, in principle, we know that the goal is to uplift black people that were dispossessed during apartheid and disadvantaged during apartheid. But a conservative and a liberal will look at that and go, well, you're not going to discriminate against white people to uplift black people, because then you're just creating an entire new race that you discriminated against. Why don't we look at it from an economic point of view? Instead of using race as the deciding factor, use your economic standing as a deciding factor, because then you uplift not only previously disadvantaged black people, but you uplift every single poor person, regardless of race, in this country. So that is why it is so important to actually think about coalition politics and realize how it can benefit you as a conservative, as a liberal, as a communist, as a socialist. And ultimately, a one-party rule, the days are over. And I'm very happy that it's over, because we are maturing as a democracy. And that means that you as a conservative, you as a liberal, you as all of the other ideologies can finally have a party that represent you on a municipal level or on a national level, and that they can fight for you and your beliefs, and you don't feel like you are being neglected. And that is why when I come back to the point of don't waste your vote on a smaller party, the reason that that is such utter bullshit is because if you vote based on your values and principles, it will never ever be a wasted vote. It will never ever be a wasted vote. Voting for what you believe in and what you stand for is never a wasted vote. And the whole notion that, oh, but it's wasted because you could have voted for this party that's already big and they could have been bigger and fought the other biggest party, that's nonsense. Because this party that you are voting for to make them big might not have your values and principles at heart. They have their own way of countering what the biggest party is doing. So coalition politics, when implemented correctly, can be a massive success for everybody. Because ultimately, as the most diverse nation on earth, it is important for us to have representation, whether you are Afrikaner, Xhosa, Zulu, Venda, Sotho, Englishman, regardless of that. We all have our own cultures, we all have our own beliefs, our own languages, and all of that needs to be protected. And I don't trust the ANC to care about my language. as Afrikaner, as I'm sure that a lot of people don't trust the DA or the Freedom Front Plus with their languages. So, what better way to actually ensure that your language, culture, and celebrations are respected and protected than voting based on your values and principles? It's not going to divide the nation, it's arguably going to bring us closer together, because we are not going to discriminate against one another. We are all just equally going to fight for our values and principles. And fight is a very strong term. We are just going to stand for it and not allow a majority single party to just ignore it and brush it aside and act like it's not important. So coalition politics is better for a diverse nation than a single party rule, because that single party does not care about all the cultures, all the languages, all the heritages. They only care about the one that they represent and that the people that voted for them did. So ultimately, open your mind a little bit to coalition politics and don't fall for the tricks that are being used when people say, "Oh, don't waste your vote," or "Hey, don't split your vote." As long as you vote based on your values and principles, it'll never be a wasted vote. There's only two ways that you can waste your vote. And the first one is by not voting at all. And the second one is to vote for something that you don't actually believe in, that is not based on your values and principles. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button, share this video far and wide. Don't forget to subscribe. It's absolutely free. It won't cost you anything. However, if you'd like to financially contribute to this channel, you can do so by clicking on the $ below and choosing an amount, or you can become a member to this channel by clicking the join button below, and that'll be appreciated. And that's all I got to say. Till later. Cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, "I wear my massacre." You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, "I wear my massacre." I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, "I wear my massacre." I wear my massacre.